out of the blue, I got a call one day asking if I was interested to do a competition as a collaborative process. I actually thought it was a joke at first. But then when John said that the deadline is in 3 days, I realized, well, he's either really crazy or he's absolutely serious.
Well, it was one of those things brought together by a series of occurrences, an invitation that Nadaaa had to come to Melbourne and make a really great magazine coverage of a talk that he gave, and then a coverage of some of his recent projects that was attractive to us. So we actually missed a geographical link, and actually through reading evidence of it, started a conversation which related very directly to the speculation on this competition commission.
There was a broad agreement that we're both invested in a process whereby we start everything together and we end everything together. But even the way in which the agreement has been set up is that we will have quite a prominent presence in the CA process.
And for the nature of practice, I think these conversations have gone back into both practices in a really significant way. I think it's the sort of things that we've talked about are now talked about in quite broad terms within our practice. Even the way of presenting ideas in a new graphic form. There is a series of things that now have extended our conversations back within the office.
Once we started working together, I realized that we actually arrive at very similar things through very different processes. And so part of the collaborative process proves to you not only that ideas may be better from somebody else, but that the process of how you get there can be many. And so you become less precious about your own little rationale. It was a two-stage competition, meaning that in the first stage we only had to develop what I think was 7 spreads or something very, very limited. And we had to jot down ideas very fast. And the way in which we did that was that their office would produce something for 12 hours, hand it off to ours. We would do a 12-hour response to theirs or a development and add it to their package, and it went back and forth for about 72 hours, and then we submitted it.
It's been a building created out of lengthy conversations. We literally working 24 hours. We would have these Skype sessions at the start and end of every day in North and South Hemisphere, and charge up these ideas. And it was innately lengthy, highly conversational, and it was both so incredibly efficient. We literally worked around the clock, but inefficient in this remarkable conversation. And out of that inefficiency, I think, comes a lot of good practice.
I think we treated the working platform as a completely horizontal free-for-all. When you're working on a shared desktop platform, you are literally allowed to draw on each other's drawings. What is traditionally thought of as the sacred ground of your own tablet is all of a sudden being added onto and contaminated by another person's hand, and that is probably the most important and refreshing aspect of collaboration. You simply have to be open to being corrected.
The most amazingly beautiful and haphazard and weird and wonderful diagrams and over-sketchings that actually layer both the presentation of the ideas and its further development in both really finely wrought and quite crude terms in the ebb and flow of the design processes of the job.
We were really thinking about those conceptual categories that Tom had put on the table, the notion of a pedagogical building. But there are eccentricities, biases, and architectural agendas that are not necessarily rational. They're not a direct mirror of the program. They're not a direct mirror of the structural necessities. They're invented predicaments and inventive challenges, and they go to not only material usage, but the entire way in which the central space was programmed, furnished, structured, daylighted, the suspended studio. All of that is the result not of a linear process, but a much more chaotic back and forth that produces, in my mind, what is one of the most powerful spaces of the project.
One of the most enduring bits of master planning is Bryce Mortlock's plan for the campus, aspects of which still are provided as creditable information for new buildings to be created on campus now. So, and he talked about a series of urban rooms. He observed what existed, which were great landscape spaces between buildings and how they functioned as spaces in their own right. They weren't passive spaces, they actually were active and closed spaces enclosed by the external walls of surrounding buildings that created a series of distinct urban rooms.
There was a deep sense of recognition that we're not doing a building on campus. We're doing a piece of urbanism of which the building is a part.
We're overly polite with each other. And I think after a while, as we've got to know each other more, we've cut conversations short. We now know each other and know how to kind of find more efficiency in the routes that we take.
Witnessing how he works with his team has also been a process for me to understand how to construct priorities. You actually don't need to control everything all the way. That it's probably better to let your collaborators and your team to run with certain things, because ultimately you don't really lose control over a project. You simply insert yourself where you are critical to it, because the chances are they're going to do a better job on that part that you're not critical to.